Are you in a band? Do you want to play gigs? And better yet, do you want people to actually come to those gigs? Sorry to say it, but you are going to need some band photos. But what if you don't have $4,200 for the latest Canon mirrorless? Well, despite the bullshit the camera companies have been trying to sell you, the truth is you don't have to spend a ton of money to get some truly amazing results. I did this shot here with a camera I only paid $242 for, with a $29 lens. In the camera world, there's marketing and then there's truth. The marketing says you need the latest and greatest and you must pay thousands for it. The truth is, digital cameras from over 10 years ago produced amazing results. And these days, you can get them for cheap. So who the hell am I to tell anybody about cameras? Well, despite having very few label critics in the music production space, which so many of you are so eager to point out, especially when I start challenging accepted dogma, I did shoot professionally for one of the largest auto manufacturers on the planet. Chrysler. In 2015, they started looking for talent within the company, and I found myself being plucked off the assembly line and moved upstairs to create in-house safety and training videos. I also wound up doing headshots for the entire management team, and as a result of that, I became the most requested photographer in the corporation. The Windsor office became deluged with requests. Who did your headshots, and how can we get them too? Me. I'm a huge fan of Peter Hurley's work, probably the #1 headshot photographer on the planet, and I've integrated a lot of his lighting style and, more importantly, lessons on body language into my own work. It's all about the eyes, folks. That's what connects the viewer to the subject. I have always loved photography, and in particular, I like shooting people. Okay, hold on a second. Let's try that one more time. I like taking photographs of people. I'm not into landscapes or wildlife. I find people interesting as the human psyche has millions of years of evolution to develop an instinctive understanding of the silent language. Facial expressions, posture, and light. All of that can convey emotions and draw in a viewer, and I am utterly fascinated by that. Let's cut through the crap. The first interaction the public is going to have with your band is probably not going to be with your music. It's probably going to be through a photograph. Every social media page, every Spotify link, every YouTube video, they all use still images. Peter Colson said on his show, go flip through a fashion magazine, and whatever page you stop at, that photographer won. The same rule applies to your band. Whatever thumbnail or artist page the user clicks on, that photographer won. Now, it's difficult enough to get a band to meet up in the same room long enough to have a rehearsal, but with most groups, getting them to agree on a time for a photo session, that is damn near mission impossible. So many groups don't give this critical step the importance it deserves, and the end results are usually poorly organized, badly planned photo sessions that leave the group looking like the amateurs that they've convinced themselves that they're not. Let's be clear, being in a band is far more than just playing songs. Nobody's buying records anymore. Your job is selling t-shirts. And to help explain the reality that your group is a media company, I've brought in somebody with a bit more expertise on the business end of things. From the Punk Rock MBA channel, here's Mr. Finn McKenty. So first off, thanks Finn for coming on the show. You're a much more business-oriented kind of guy than I am, but my whole take is, in my limited experience on this, is that just even trying to organize musicians for band practice is hard enough, but trying to
literally anything.
Yeah, and trying to get them into the same room to take pictures is pretty much mission impossible.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing I've noticed, especially with rock musicians, is that they all want attention, but they're also unwilling to do the things that are required to get attention, one of which is taking photos. And you might think that because we live in a world of TikTok and shorts and all this kind of stuff, that photos don't matter anymore, but they definitely do. I mean, the right photo, think about all the bands that you love. There's probably some iconic photo of them that when you think of them, it's the first thing that comes to mind, right? And, you know, like, how many places are there now where we still use still images? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, right?
Sure. Kids still hang posters on their walls.
Totally. There's still Instagram profiles. There's still, you know, anytime you play a show, they need it. There's still tons and tons of places that they need a photo. And if all you have is either a crappy photo that, has technical flaws, or a boring photo, that's going to be a problem.
Right, exactly. So what would you say to the aspiring musician who wants to take this seriously, who wants to have a career at this, and then balks at the idea of, what do you mean we got to take a photo session? This should just be about the music. What would you say to that person?
Are you happy with where you're at? If so, keep doing what you're doing. if you would like something to be different about your life, then you're probably going to have to change some things about the way you're approaching it, right? So if you already have enough fans and money and attention and you don't need any more, then don't change anything. But if you would like more of any of those things, then you probably need to change it. So when it comes to taking photos, I mean, it's not that hard. Like literally all you have to do is be present while somebody else does the actual work.
All right, there you go. It's really that simple, guys. All you got to do is show up and let the photographer do the heavy lifting. That's all there is to it.
Beyond that, there's a switch that I think everybody needs to flip in their head. All musicians need to flip this switch in their head, is to understand that this is the job, right? Your job is not to play guitar. Your job is to be a personality, an entertainer. And one of the things you do as part of that job is playing guitar, but it's not the only thing you do. And this is not new. This has always been the case. I mean, think about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, before the internet. Well, what did they do? They went on all the late night shows, right? You would see when the album came out, they would go on Jimmy Kimmel and Conan O'Brien and David Letterman and blah, blah, blah. And then they would do all the press tours and all the magazines and rah, rah, rah. Do you think they liked doing that stuff? I guarantee they didn't, right? At least not most of them, not most people, but they did it anyway, because that's part of the job. But beyond that, I would encourage people to look at all of this stuff as not a chore, but look at it as a creative outlet. It's fun, right? You get to create stuff. It's fun to curate the visual way that you represent yourself. That's an opportunity to be creative, not a chore. That's how I would look at it.
All right. Okay. That's what we need, especially in the heavy rock spaces, people being more creative and doing less of what everybody else is doing.
Do not. We can make a checklist of your music video or of your photo shoot. If you're standing in a warehouse, that's one red flag. If you're standing in front of like a brick wall, that's another red flag. Train tracks, definitely a red flag. Any of these things to like high school, senior photography, project kind of things, red flag, right? If you're just wearing a black t-shirt, black jeans and a beard and you're scowling, red flag, right? You got to do something different. You just ask yourself, if anybody in your audience saw this photo, what would make it stand out to them in some way or another? And I'm not saying you have to be silly and dress up in, ridiculous outfits or something, although that's certainly, you can do that. That's not bad, but just there's got to be something there to create some sort of an emotional connection with your audience, just like your music does. Like, what is the emotional story that you're telling with your music? How do you express that in your photos as well?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, my big one's always been, graveyards and railroad tracks. It's like, let's not do that. It's amazing what you can do with just a single light and a bit of shadow. You can create far more interest in what you're trying to get across visually. It worked for Rembrandt. It can work for your band.
That's right.
So ask yourself a simple question. What will the people you're trying to reach actually be looking at your photos on? Is it going to be a billboard? A giant Jumbotron TV? How about something a little bit simpler, like a flyer or a smartphone? You don't have to worry about having a massive megapixel count. A 4K TV like the one back here, that's only 8 megapixels. An iPhone or even an iPad? Yeah, those aren't even close. So what that means is we don't have to look for cameras with 24 megapixels, as that's kind of going to be a waste. Now, what I've gathered here are 3 cameras from the past that can deliver great images for our purpose, getting attention for the band. But why shoot with these kind of cameras? Why not just use an iPhone and call it a day? Simply put, physics. Light can only bend so much, and tiny lenses simply can't physically do what the larger ones on DSLRs can. You want to look professional? Start with pro level gear. The great thing is it can be pro level gear from a decade ago or even longer. First up, we've got a Nikon D200. This has got a CCD sensor that's only 10.2 megapixels, and it came out way back in 2005. I found this for only 170 US, and the lens I'm using was another $100. A 50 millimeter, but because this is an APS-C sensor, it'll act like an 85, which is perfect for portraits. Next up is the Sony A390. This one's really cool because it's a 14 megapixel CCD sensor, the largest CCD ever made for a DSLR. It was released in 2010 and uses the old Minolta A mount, which was discontinued in 2021. What that means is there's an abundance of incredible glass out there for next to nothing. I found this lens, affectionately known as the beer can, which is fantastic for portraits and is only $29. Also picked up a 50 millimeter prime for $20. And rounding things out here is the full frame Canon 5D Classic. This is the original 5D full frame DSLR that came out back in 2005. It also happens to be one of the best sensors Canon ever made. It's only a 12.7 megapixel CMOS, but there is something special about this one. It originally retailed for $26.99 US, and I found mine for a whopping 200 Canadian dollars. Add in another 50 bucks for the 50mm plastic fantastic lens, and you have got yourself a monster shooting machine that will blow the doors off an iPhone. Now bear in mind, some of these cameras use the older compact flash memory cards that you probably won't be able to find in retail stores. However, they are still readily available on Amazon, so if you're doing a photo session, make sure you plan ahead. Now there's some debate online about the older CCD sensors being a bit more filmic than the CMOS sensors. The Sony and the Nikon had CCD and the Canon is CMOS. Honestly, I'm not so sure. You tell me what you think looks better. And I want to make a note here that I tried to organize a few groups for free photo sessions, and the only one that committed was Toronto's Corrosive. Everyone else apparently had better things to do than get something that would help further their careers as musicians. So I wound up doing a couple of portraits instead. All right, so I'm on location at a friend's house. You guys might have heard of him, but I wanted to show this off, and this is really important. What I have here is a $95 light I got on Amazon. This was recommended by the show Marcus Picks. I'm a big fan of this guy. I've been binge watching him, learning so much stuff off it. And this is something he suggested. I get one of these. And this is the Neewer NL288RC. Yeah, just like runs right off the tongue. I swear, they must have got together with the Lewitt gang, because they name their lights like Lewitt names their fucking microphones. Like nobody can remember what the hell they're called. Anyway, point being is, I'm on location here. I want to show what you can do with a single light, and the portrait we're going to be taking is this guy right here.
Yeah.
You might have heard of him.
When Glenn thought he needed a model, just who to come to.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sports Illustrated said, go fuck yourself, Glenn. I've got the one light, that's all we're shooting with. And what we're going for is kind of a Rembrandt style. So this light is basically super portable, and it's its own softbox because it's got this diffusion filter in front. So you don't have to fuck around with, giant shit like this, like Steve's using. This just fits in a bag for travel, and that's it.
You're
that's
just jealous of my professional lighting situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so Steve just mentioned the point where we're taking a look at the memory card of this thing, because this thing's like positively ancient. I'm like, yeah, ooh, 8 gigs. Yeah, these giant memory cards. He's like,
do you have to blow in it?
like a Nintendo cartridge. There you go.
That's so ancient.
Yeah, exactly. And the hilarious bit was the first Sony digital Mavica cameras actually used floppy disks.
A camera used a floppy disk.
A camera used a floppy disk.
Didn't floppies have like 30 kilobytes of data?
Yeah, it was pretty primitive. Let's just put it that way. But it's amazing how fast the technology, evolved in 20 years. So
right.
I'm just gonna pop off a couple shots here, and we're gonna do some outside at sunset with the McLaren in a sec. But I just kind of want to illustrate what you can do with just one light, one high quality light, just dialed in.
One light.
One light dialed in. Okay, so just look towards me.
Close on.
Yes. Sorry to disappoint. Okay. Let's see how that looks. Okay, cool. Jeez, that's not bad at all right there. So what I want you to do is I want, just turn your nose that way a bit, a little back towards me, right about there, a little more. Great, that's perfect right there. Just squint and think I'm hungry. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Try not to giggle too much there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, one more. That's not bad, that's not bad. Let's see what we're doing here. I'm just checking out my framing here. That's actually pretty fucking amazing right there.
Yeah.
I'm really digging that. Yeah, just tilt your head that way just a teensy bit. There we go, perfect. And that's all it really takes to get good results like that. We can do, vertical like that. It's really cool. Actually, that's not bad. See, we're getting a nice strong jawline here. That's the thing, we don't want the double chin.
That's because I have a nice strong jawline. But...
Yeah, it's because you don't eat. One more. Let's see that. Not bad. Jeez. Okay, now we're doing it. And I want to change up the light a bit. I'm just going to move this over a little bit because I want to get a bit more shadow on his face. Guys, the most important thing is you want a bright side and you want a shadow side, because the shadow is what draws in the view. Right now, we don't have a lot of shadow with this light coming in on video, but the results we're getting here.
Wow, what?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like on this old screen too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, the screen, that's the thing about these old cameras. Yeah, the screens are garbage. It's like,
yeah, and it looks good on that.
Yeah, that's actually not bad at all.
No.
Yeah, I gotta say, out of all the interfaces I'm shooting with all these cameras, I gotta say, the Sony's probably the most painful to work with. The Canon's better. This one is slick. I like working with this camera.
Nikon? I've never had a Nikon.
It's really heavy. It doubles as a blunt force trauma weapon. Like you could really hurt somebody with this thing. It's heavy enough. But damn, it really does take nice images. Even though it's only 12 megapixels, 12 megapixels is more than fine, because your band is gonna be going onto the internet. You guys are gonna be too cheap to print anything. After the interior shots, we moved outside and managed to get these just as the sun was going down. It just goes to show with the right light and the right body language, even Stevie T can look cool. In this case, I was using the Nikon D200 and the sun was my rim light, and I was filling it in with this, a Godox 8100. Now this is a bit more money and it's not really needed for basic shots, as I'm gonna show you here in a minute.
Oh, that's fucking killer. One more. Yeah. Just drop your arms a little bit. There we go.
Now the hair's great. I was gonna say just...
Yeah, got it. That's fucking stellar. Thank you. Chin down. There we go.
Hey everybody, I'm on location in Toronto, Ontario, standing in a very interesting spot amongst all these power lines and hoping nothing falls down while we're here, because that's gonna really fucking hurt. Anyway, what I'm on is location here with the band Corrosive. We're just doing a real quick photo shoot. We're taking advantage of the setting sun and using the really killer light because we're in what's called golden hour. And I'm gonna show them how they can get amazing band photos without spending a whole lot of money. And then I'm gonna show you guys a couple shots of the same style from the same distance with an iPhone. All you need is the right light. Let's have you turn this way a little bit. Yep, there we go. So we're gonna pick up a little bit more of that sunlight on your eyes. And that is freaking cool. Remember, landscape for video, vertical for portrait. The only thing I'm noticing different is that what you see through the window here on the camera, it might be a little different than the framing that winds up on the CCD itself if I go back here one. And it's also a really shitty screen, so you gotta keep that in mind too. But if I go back one, see the framing's a little bit off here, there's a little too much headroom, so you gotta compensate for that. So these cameras look spectacular, but they might not be the most convenient solution as well. Don't smile, try to look metal, think I'm hungry. Don't open the eyes that much. That's cool though. Let's have you turn this way a little bit more. Yep, let's do the same thing with an iPhone and just show the differences we're gonna get and why it makes sense to get maybe one of these as opposed to one of these. That doesn't quite have the intimacy I'm looking for. But again, when it comes down to skin tones, all that kind of thing, like that's just artificial blurry background going on. We go to this is the real thing. Even though this is APS-C, that is really the look we're looking for. Remember guys, the lower the number means the wider the aperture means the blurrier your background is gonna be. The closer you get in towards the subject, the more blurry your background is gonna be as well. It's all a bit of a sliding scale, so you kind of gotta be doing a little bit of mental gymnastics while you're doing this to always keep in mind what's going on. Working with Derek here, he's a great guitar player, great guy. The eyes don't quite work for me, they don't quite say confidence to me like the rest of the guys in the band. So what we do, let's do this. Instant problem solver. If somebody's not looking confident, put them in sunglasses, solves all kinds of problems. Works for Electric Light Orchestra, works for Corrosive as well. Thanks so much, Derek.
No problem.
What we're doing is we're just gonna kind of show how to do the body language so it shows confidence. So instead of, you know, like that, squint down a little bit, and that's where the confidence comes from. Remember guys, confidence comes from the eyes, and then it's, you know, it's not, you know, all about, you know, crossing the arms or anything like that, because that's a defensive pose and that just sucks. You wanna show confidence, you wanna show strength, especially for a metal band. Oh yeah, the other thing is these cameras all use compact flash cards. So if you're gonna buy one, make sure you go on Amazon and pick some up, because we went looking for one today in downtown Toronto and didn't have much luck. So yeah, here we got, you know, just nice strong body language going on. This just shows a lot of confidence. Not the greatest screen on this camera, but boy, when you pull these up on the computer, they sure look fantastic. Kind of losing the sunlight here, unfortunately. We did get some spectacular shots. It's all good, but yeah, we'll make do. And again, this is the thing, if you do your homework ahead of time, you don't have to spend a lot of time doing a shoot. You can literally get it done in an hour just by using what light is available.
2,000 years later.
Just using a bit of the sunlight here right now just to do some natural light shots, and then I'm gonna do some stuff with the strobes as well. We're just trying to take advantage of the sunset for like the next couple hours here, because we've got some really good light. It's about 7 p.m. The sun's gonna go down about 9, so maybe the next hour or so we got really great light, so we're gonna try and get some cool stuff. And yep, that's cool. Yeah, there we go. And again, so that's 200 bucks for the camera, 50 bucks for the lens. And we're getting that with no extra lights or modifiers or anything. Yeah, we can do this, but if you get the sun at the right time and you use it the right way, you can get some very dramatic shots for no money at all. Photography is like any other art form. It's about the journey and not the destination. For me, it's a constant evolution. I'm never satisfied with shooting one style because I want to learn more. Now there's a few YouTubers out there that I follow to get ideas from. Peter Colson and his assistant Beck do amazing work in the fashion space. Peter is a wellspring of knowledge when it comes to lighting and poses, and I can't recommend him enough. Another channel I've been following is the Cam Mackey Show. He's had a great video on shooting midday called How Real Pros Shoot in harsh light, which in my opinion is an absolute must watch. Now this video really got me inspired to shoot with Rembrandt style lighting and getting more contrast on the face as opposed to the super soft Peter Hurley style. It really lays out how you can use the light as a paintbrush and create some real drama with contrast. And finally, I gotta shout out Marcus Bix, another wellspring of knowledge. He's got great tips on dirt cheap gear like that knee-wear panel I was using on the Stevie T interior shots. I'm also using it right here as a fill light. And he's also done a bunch of videos on the Godox AD100s, the super portable strobes that I used on the McLaren shots. I've always loved shooting with strobes, and I used them extensively for the stuff I did with Guitar World more than a decade ago. But those were very heavy and they took a lot of support gear like light stands and the backgrounds and all the rest of the crap. These little AD100s can kick out the light, but they're the size of a pop can and they can fit in a backpack. The best light is the one you have on hand. But a word of caution, whatever you do, don't fall into the trap of gear lust. Just like tube amps, hype around cameras is real. Just try getting your hands on a Fuji X100 because you can't. They are sold out. The list price is $15.99, but you can't get them for that. But on eBay, you can find them used for $2,500. That's because they're trendy. Don't be a sucker. Don't give these greedy bastards your money. Be smarter than that. Now, if you want something with more megapixels, the Canon 5D Mark II, the camera that turned the world on its ear because it was the first to do full frame video at 24 frames per second and started the whole DSLR video revolution, can still be found new in the box with a warranty. Here's one for $894 Canadian at Walmart. That's only $650 US. That's for a full-featured, full-frame camera that's 24 megapixels, which is far beyond the resolution you're going to need to promote your band. Yes, it's a 10-year-old design, and it still makes incredible images. And if that's too expensive, you can find one used in near mint condition for only $289. That's so cheap, I think I'm gonna buy one. And about those lower megapixel counts, well, you're always gonna hear some nonsense about large prints and how they can't do it. Well, check this. So this is the Rembrandt shot I did of Christian Vey, and this was with the Sony A390 at 14 megapixels. Here's Goran from Vicious Guitars. This is 12 megapixels, again, same print size. And Stevie T at Sunset, 10 megapixels, and it did the exact same size print. Not bad. Don't be fooled. You don't have to spend a fortune to get a great camera. You can get pro level images at rock bottom prices these days because with digital, what's new is what's important, at least according to the marketing. Keep your eyes out for old and used because they're not obsolete. They're awesome.